my name is Zoe, I'm the Tipsy Psychic, and today we're going to talk about the compatibility between the Libra Scorpio Cusp and the Gemini. You may feel like you'll never fully be okay with each other. You both are very good at taking the lead, so when it comes to being productive, you have no problem making things happen. No one else truly understands what goes on between the two of you. They don't understand what you share because intimacy is so important in this relationship. Falling in love will not be a challenge. The difficulty is really being welcoming and being able to welcome each other and believe in each other and trust in each other. Together, you make an impression on the lives of those around you. You work as a unit. This is not a surface level relationship. And you definitely will both take the spotlight a lot of the time. Other people think that they know everything about you. They have their mind made up. They think they know your relationship, but they don't. You're going to have to make some sacrifices for this to work. You have to learn to make agreements. You might be tempted to rush things a little bit and to keep taking leaps, but you might want to pause and just take it easy for a while. This relationship might require a lot of your energy. You don't want to create a codependent vibe. You want to be an individual in every aspect of your life. So you're going to have to get rid of the things that you rely on because they will become distractions for your relationship. Maintain your independence. You may feel aggravated with your Gemini. This is a complex relationship. It's not going to be a smooth ride. You both will go on many adventures together and grow as a couple, but your journey is not going to be something that you boast about to everyone else. It's going to be more of an intimate journey between the two of you. For growth, you need to stay focused. You need to stay on the path. Keep this relationship going, but not too fast. Your Gemini is very independent and very unique, very special, and they are very influenced by you and your goals and your thoughts and your standards and the way you live your life. Make sure to take a step back and let them choose what to do for themselves, because what you think and how you feel, you might not realize it, but you're influencing them so much in their decisions, and it's kind of taking away their independence, and in the long run, that's not a good thing. So let them take charge of their own destiny. You should try to be more open with your friends and family about things, or they're going to take it the wrong way. Your Gemini is going to amuse you. You guys will have a blast. You think so highly of each other and you act like it too, which will kind of raise the expectations. Instead of accepting that you both have flaws, you'll only see the love and awesomeness in your partner. You admire them, you treasure them, you even idolize them sometimes. And you do it so much that things can end badly for you when you finally realize, like when you wake up and realize they aren't the perfect people that you thought they were, that they're human just like you, and they might do the exact same thing. So if you want this to work, you need to be able to appreciate that. You both are very good at communicating, at expressing yourselves, and together you could easily publish a novel or write an award-winning article. You both have this desire to learn. Don't just talk about things, like actually do them. Get started. You need to start choosing what to do and actually make it happen. A Gemini will hate if you're just like all talk and you actually don't act on what you say. You may feel like you have a very strong bond, and you do have to be very open to change. Don't be so stubborn all the time. Just because you do something doesn't mean that your Gemini has to do it too. Remember that. You might feel like you want to take shortcuts in this relationship. You want things to just be simpler, but actually this relationship works best in its natural environment, which is a complicated one. It's a complicated relationship, and you have to face the fact that things aren't going to be simple. You're probably going to be the one that always has to be the adult in the relationship. The longer you go on worshiping each other and not really treating each other for who you really are, the more devastating things will be when you actually wake up and realize, whoa, this person is actually not that great person that I thought that they were. And you can go on for years and years with your love goggles on. You can go on for so long before you realize that they are not the person that you actually adore so much. You both see each other how you want to see each other, and sometimes that means avoiding the truth. That means projecting and idolizing them. But you need to lift the veil, that veil over your eyes and your intuition, sooner rather than later. You're both driven and you like to take charge your own way. And the minute that you're actually working on a project or you're working together and things become more consistent, the situation can become very disappointing and discouraging because you definitely need more information. You need to add more to the situation. You need to keep things interesting. Most of the people around you, like friends and family, will see your relationship as very outgoing and open. They won't really see that your relationship actually has layers and that it's actually really introverted, and that most of what happens without them there, happens in private. So if people are judgmental, it's probably because they don't realize that you really have a strong, intimate life with them, your Gemini. It might make it difficult when it comes to setting boundaries with your friends and family. They might not be as understanding because they won't see that side of your relationship. You might be tempted to be critical of your Gemini, but try to be open-minded and hold back on any comments. Sometimes you can get very detached from how you are, and you may not realize how some things are affecting other people around you. Don't neglect your emotions. You need to accept that this is going to be hard. This relationship is going to take work, but it's worth it. So you need to find that within yourself and be honest with yourself. Acknowledge that it's complex. As time goes on, you might feel like there's a lot of unfairness. You might feel like things are really unfair with your Gemini or one-sided. If you're having just a fling with a Gemini, it would be really exciting and passionate. You would get so much love out of it. As a couple, you have strong influences on other couples. And usually you don't really care if everyone else sees your relationship a certain way. They don't have to know what's going on between the two of you. And together you have such a unique connection, especially when you can fully accept each other for who you are. Try not to ask too much of your Gemini. Remember that. It's a really bad habit. And pay attention to how other people feel, even if you don't really care whether they see your relationship a certain way. Still pay attention, still have compassion for others in your life. Many times when there's a real obstacle that comes up in your relationship, especially when it has to do with your social life or something that is directly affecting you, you kind of retreat into your own corner. You take the flight response. There's a fight or flight or freeze response. You take the one that makes you go far away from the problem. Instead of dealing with things head on, you want to protect your heart. And sometimes you don't want to face the fact that you're going to have a very difficult conversation to resolve a conflict. So you might just act like you accept it, or you might just kind of ignore it and act like it's just there and it's okay. Or you just might run away and back off and give it some time to resolve itself. But there will come a point when you can't do that, when you're gonna have to face your fears. You're gonna have to face them together. You can't solve your problems by going in separate directions. You have to face things and you have to face each other. Your Gemini may not be as reliable as you want them to be. And if they are standing you up or they're flaky when you're dating, just understand that that's not gonna go away. It doesn't matter how much you care about them or they care about you. That's something that they will always have if you're in a relationship with them. If they change it, it would be for them, but they'll never change that for you. So if that bothers you, you need to face that now and say goodbye. Sometimes this passion and the butterflies that you feel for each other, it's more of a facade. You need to really dig deep and figure out who you are to each other and face the music. If you feel like people are judging you, and they just don't like your relationship, then it's going to be very difficult to focus on your future together. It's not impossible, but it's going to make it really hard. And you might lose a lot of friends in the process. Marriages are usually wonderful between the two of you. And there's little doubt with your love when you decide to get married or enter into a really long-term committed relationship with them. Long-term commitments can definitely be successful. Very successful, in fact. If you feel any disappointment towards each other, make sure that you handle it. Figure it out. Don't let it linger. Don't ever tell your Gemini that they can't do something. If they feel like they're not allowed to be in charge of something that they want to do, whether it's just start a meetup or take a baking class or travel to a faraway country, don't say no to them. You're not allowed to challenge their decision making. That is a recipe for disaster. You need to be able to keep your intimacy and anonymity very separate from who you are to everyone else and how you act to everyone else as a couple. Because as a couple, you do act differently when you're alone than when you're with everyone else. You put on very different faces, almost like you guys become a different couple. You need to make sure that you don't cross that line, that things don't get muddled and messed around with. Like, you can't blur that. They have to be very separate, and you have to keep it that way for things to keep going properly and in a healthy way. If you feel like when you meet them they're unreliable, then it's probably best to just keep it platonic, stay friends from the start, because you can still be awesome friends. It is going to be heartbreaking when you really figure out that your Gemini is not the person that you thought that they were. You have each other's backs and you know how to stand up for each other. And you're advocates for what you both care about. And if you feel like someone is attacking them or they feel like someone is attacking you, you guys are there for each other. You guys have each other's backs and you will defend each other, even if you guys were fighting earlier that morning. When you're on your own together, you may have to battle some self-doubt or a lack of self-esteem. And you can definitely get annoyed with each other. Having a focus in this relationship is super important. In a friendship, you're definitely gonna feel like things are more free and laid back, like you're able to just go with the flow. But you definitely need to know where you're headed, what you want from them, and what you want out of this friendship. When things get to a point where you're just too aggravated, like you just can't take it anymore, and you can't accept each other for who you are, then you usually destroy each other from the inside. That's how the breakup happens. It's not usually like some external force's fault. It's usually you both. A lot of the time, sex isn't really a priority in this relationship. It doesn't mean that the sex isn't good or you don't have a good sex life. I mean, intimacy is super important. I don't know what you're doing in the bedroom, but most likely you're having sex if you're in a good relationship. Anyway, so sex might be great, but it's usually not at the forefront of this relationship. And how you really feel for each other deep down is usually not the focus either. Your Gemini will often have a wonderful sense of humor, and it will be very attractive to you because that's super important to you. So when you do finally wake up, you have to decide, can you accept them for who they are? Are you okay with them? Are you okay with this? And if you're not okay with them, if you realize this is not really what you want, for you usually just kind of fall out of love with them. You aren't seeing the attraction anymore. The spark kind of just dies out for you. It's not that you get super angry or upset. It's usually something that just kind of happens from within you. You lose interest. Your feelings just change. They're not the person that you fell in love with. When you get married, it's more than just how you feel for each other. It goes beyond that. Whenever you start to feel annoyed or aggravated or doubtful with your Gemini, it's usually because of something in your life, and it's usually not really because of them. And a lot of the time, when you feel that way, you're projecting, and they do the same thing, but not as much as you do. You are usually the one who gets pissed off if you feel like you're having trouble taking charge, because you are both natural leaders. But if you feel like you're having trouble taking control or being in control, then it's probably a sign that you should not be in this relationship. It's a sign that you're not ready for this relationship. Yes, this relationship can be amazing if you just accept each other and like everybody's in love and it's like wonderful. It's a very powerful bond. However, if you are sort of having trouble with this part of yourself, you feel like you're not fully in control, then let me tell you, you need to step away right now because this relationship is not in the cards for you. That's something you definitely need to work on first before you do this, or you're just like kind of going nowhere. It's gonna be doomed from the beginning. And it could be a timing issue. It could just be that you met at the wrong time. You have a very special bond that is very therapeutic. You both know what it's like to have a really bad day and just sort of absorb that energy. You accumulate the energy so easily, but with each other, you're really able to open up and vent. You're able to let out all your frustrations together, which is really rare because not everyone can handle that sort of pressure and negativity. But you use each other as a very healthy outlet. And normally that kind of thing wouldn't be healthy, but you are so supportive of each other and you're capable of being there for each other and understanding each other and listening, and it's like awesome. And it's just easier to cope with your problems and be happy when you're dating. You might feel like you belong to them, and that's okay often for you. Like often, you're fine with it. Especially if you can laugh about it with your Gemini. But Gemini usually has trouble giving up on this relationship. If you are unable to accept each other, you may very well just kind of fall out of love and lose interest over time, but it affects them way differently. They don't usually just fall out of love or just lose attraction like that. They usually are very hung up on you. They're hung up on how much they need you, and a lot of the time they are hung up on sex and how much they need it with you. Like it was so great, I guess, and a lot of the time that's something that they really miss with you. And it will be very hard for them to give that up. I'm not saying they won't, but it's more of a struggle and it's more painful and heartbreaking for them, even if because they're holding on to that idea of what they thought you were. They put you on a pedestal. If this happens, a lot of the time it's also because they're not on the same page as you. And there can be a lot of anxiety and frustration. And in your everyday life, you go through a lot of anxiety and frustration. It's something that you both have to deal with a lot, but your relationship is like a sanctuary. Trust is going to be very important. You have to be open and truthful with each other from the start. The Gemini is going to need more attention, and you might need to constantly be showing affection towards your Gemini. They might seem confused and bring it up to you if you're not working together correctly. But if that's the case on your end, you might feel like they just don't get you, that they're not just showing enough love for you. And you might start to be very demanding of them because of that. And so because you both need to be in charge, that can be a struggle. So there are going to be obstacles that you're going to have to face, but overall this is a really healthy, really powerful relationship. It's not simple, but it's beautiful. If you are a Gemini, or if you were born on the cusp of Libra and Scorpio, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.